A little bit on workforce education.
Yeah, K through 12 is extremely important. My wife's a first grade school teacher, so I see that firsthand. Our four-year institutions are extremely important. But one of the things I think in South Carolina that gets overlooked, which is a tremendous resource, are our community colleges.
Right.
I like to call them community colleges because they're more than technical schools, Odie, and I've seen it firsthand. My oldest son, Jeb, spent his first year at Tri-County Community College, Tri-County Technical School. They took a C student, turned him into an A-B student, and I've seen a self-assuredness and a self-confidence from my son that I've never seen before. And not only are they taking students that are fresh out of school, they're re-educating seniors, I say seniors, mature adults that are in the workforce today,
right.
and helping place them, helping people that don't have a job get a job, and people that have a job get a better job. But it's going to take coordination. We need a governor that sits down with our research institutions, with our community colleges, with our K through 12, with our chambers, with our private sector, with heads of departments, and says, what are we doing to make sure we're meeting the needs of our workforce? Are we educating the people that we need? Are we filling that gap? And the governor needs to be directly responsible for holding people accountable for making sure that we follow through with these things.
Well, the other thing that we're seeing and hearing a lot about is regionalism.
Yeah.
You know, just not South Carolina, but things that Georgia's doing, that Tennessee's doing, that North Carolina's doing, and how we can better position ourselves by talking to Purdue, or talking to the governor in Tennessee, and coming up with a regional policies for economic development. Because, you know, as a region, we're competing against India and China.
That's right.
And things.
That's right.
And I think it's even bigger than South Carolina now. And you know, what I think our people are looking for, because they got multi-state locations, is a governor that can reach across state boundaries.
Absolutely.
And begin to work with some of these other governors too. So I know some of these governors have come out of Congress and you've worked with them and other things. But you thought, and I know you tend to get a little bit right around your boundaries, but it's your thoughts on that.
I'll give you a perfect example. I sat down for 45 minutes with Governor Bob Riley, who looked me in the face and said, Gresham, we're kicking your hiney.
Yeah.
Alabama has been kicking our hiney. So working regionally with Alabama, with Georgia, we were in Atlanta about a month ago, and I was talking to some of the folks in the chamber out there. Now, let me say up front, I've never been a big rail type of guy when it comes to moving people. There are needs within our state. Our roads and bridges are in terrible disrepair, and when I think about Amtrak, I think, you know, do we really want to spend those monies? But having said that, President Obama has $8 billion in the budget set aside for light rail, high-speed rail, light rail. Georgia and North Carolina have been working on that corridor that goes from Charlotte to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Savannah, Savannah to Columbia, Columbia to Raleigh, and then back to Charlotte. Yeah. If we don't take advantage of those monies, then shame on us, Otis.
Right.
And that's something we can work regionally, like you were talking about, with North Carolina and Georgia, to have a plan that will benefit South Carolina as much, if not more, than the other two states.
Yeah. I know you've heard this as you've gone around, particularly being over in the 3rd Congressional District, is water issues.
Oh, gosh.
And, you know, I think that's in the long term, and probably within the next 8 years, it's probably going to be some of the battle lines that our next governor's going to have to deal with. I know you know about the water issues and all, but how do you look at the water issues, and how do we resolve those issues if you've thought about it long enough to address what's going on in the Savannah Basin, as well as what's coming out of the Catawba and PD basins?
I believe with all my heart, Odie, that he who controls the water will control his destiny.
Yeah.
And we've seen what's happened with the federal judge coming down on Atlanta.
Right.
Atlanta's thirsty. They're going to come looking. Greenville's thirsty. Columbia's thirsty. I mean, the whole southeastern area is thirsty. I've been intimately involved in the Savannah River Basin because until this past year, just as we speak right now, we've been in a 4-year drought.
Right.
So working with the Georgia DNR, working with Clemson University, with Georgia Tech, on how to solve some of these water issues. And South Carolina with Clemson University has a gem. We have some experts up there that are better than anybody in this nation.
Right.
So we can use this expertise, again, working across boundaries with Georgia and North Carolina, to solve some of these problems. And one of the dreams that I have as a governor, Odie, imagine a nuclear reactor in South Carolina that's cooled with salt water, and you let the waste heat drive that desalination process. So not only do you have power for your state, you got cool, fresh drinking water.
Well, that comes back to another issue. If you're talking about nuclear, is, you know, we're sitting on the cusp of a nuclear renaissance in South Carolina with the Savannah River plant and the nuclear plants that you're talking about. What's the chances of driving reprocessing and giving South Carolina, the nation, the ability to reprocess? Where's that fit in this whole thing? I mean, sitting up in Washington talking about energy issues and how we go deal with carbon footprints and all that.
Right.
What's the feeling, will we ever get reprocessing regulations changed where we can be successful in having a nuclear energy source that's clean for the environment?
If we're going to meet our base load, we have to. I mean, it is the only viable option that we have right now. And I will say this about our congressional delegation. Republicans and Democrats believe that South Carolina can not only lead the nation when it comes to nuclear power production, we can lead the nation when it comes to reprocessing. And we've been fighting, I've been fighting at the Savannah River National Lab and Savannah River site for a test project where we could literally be self-sustaining, Otis, where we could produce our nuclear power, send our spent fuel rods to the Savannah River National site, reprocess those and send them back out. I think, again, it's an opportunity for South Carolina to lead, not follow, but lead not only this nation but this world, and show people how it can be done and how safely and effectively, and in the long run make our nation less dependent and more self-assured when it comes to our national security.
I'm going to bounce around before I ask you if there's anything you want to say. I know you've probably been having town meetings around the state, health care, and you know, it's been a vocal issue for all the congressmen that are out
right.
Holding these town meetings now. What are you hearing? And do you think South Carolina's just that much different when you're looking across the country? And are we hearing from a silent majority now that's finally stepping up, or is it, if you're looking at the polls, is it something that we still go lose the battle when you start looking at the public plan and that kind of stuff?
If you'd asked me that question 2 months ago, I would have said health care reform's a done deal, that it would pass the House and probably pass the Senate. Now I'm not even sure it'll come out of committee in the House of Representatives. And these people across this nation, Odie, in South Carolina, they're not right-wing nuts. They're not radicals. They're not libertarians. They are moms and pops, husbands and wives, old, rich, poor, young, doesn't matter. They are scared about what's happening in their lives, the direction that their government is going in, and they're letting their voice be heard. And I've told people, I said, you know, I'm a congressman, I'm one of 435, but the strongest voice in America is being heard right now, and that's the people that are scared.
Yeah.
They're not concerned. They're scared to death about the direction that their nation is going. And I believe a lot of these moderate Democrats, these old Reagan or Blue Dog Democrats, whatever you want to call them, I believe when we go back to Washington in 2 weeks, I think it's going to be a different story, and I wouldn't be surprised if this bill doesn't even see the light of day.
Well, what else you want to talk about? Is something else you want to talk about, or what do you want to say to the business community as you move forward in you?
Let me just say this. I mean, we're 8 months away, almost right at 9 months away from a primary, and we've had some struggles in South Carolina, and that's why people are looking for leadership and looking for guidance. And I tell you, if we're going to turn this thing around, we're going to do it one state at a time. Government was designed to be from the bottom up, not the top down. Government does have a place. We set the table, we create the environment, and then we get the heck out of the way. In South Carolina, Odie, if I didn't believe our best days were ahead of us, I wouldn't be doing this. And I tell you, we can be a national leader in so many areas by putting the right guy in the office.
Well, we wish you luck, and just one last thing we'd say is the only people that, you know, government can create jobs and all, but business does that better than anybody else. And I would tell you is give us the toolbox and get out the way and let us go, because I think we can turn South Carolina around and get it going. So,
couldn't agree more.
Thank you very much
for
being here today.